There's a genetic component to the capability to feel religious experiences, similar to how there's a genetic component to general genetic component to being more socially outgoing, more extroverted, and like feeling positive, feeling strongly, as opposed to neurosis, feeling negative, feeling strongly. And then those predispositions are altered by life experiences where more gene switches are turned on or turned off that lead to a greater sensitivity to pain or a greater resilience against pain. And a very important part of building up resilience against pain is having positive social interaction on a regular basis. You have this stability in your life. You have a sense of fulfillment in your life. You have positive mental health surrounding you. Whereas if you were surrounded by mental illness and people who are constantly hostile around you, so that you constantly have a stress response going on, that is going to lower your threshold for pain. Unconsciously, you have to be more guarded against threats in your environment. This creates hypervigilance and all of that. There's more autistic crap that I could go into where we're just not good. Humanity is not good at being stressed out for a long time. We're not meant to be stressed out for a long amount of time. We're meant to be stressed out for like short, acute amounts of time and be calm and around people that we can trust and in comforting situations where we get lots of hugs on a regular basis. The world is upside down where we are stressed out with a whole bunch of anxiety pretty much all the time, and we don't know where our next hug is coming from. And that's another thing that a lot of people can't relate to, is being deprived of hugs, being deprived of any positive physical contact at all. The most social contact I get in real life is talking to people at the gym. We don't even do high fives or anything. I'm just not in a situation to do that. It's like guys doing deadlifts and like I'm on the treadmill. Someone else walks in and they're like, oh, hey, what's up? Hey, you wave. That's about it. There's not really the opportunity for physical interaction there, and that's like beside the point. I do not have any sense of community. They're not community events and the like where I would be able to interact with people, and that's a huge issue. And one part of perhaps breaking free of the financial situation, being able to move wherever the heck I want, is just writing books. Like I have this giddy zeal towards writing parody books about catgirls. This is hilarious. This fills me with a sense of light and life like nothing else in the bloody world. And this is something where, if I were able to write these books and sell these books, that would be a way to have financial freedom, at least as far as those publishings could carry me. You never know until you try. And that's what I'm looking forward to, is giving things a fair shake. So yes, a big theme I want to focus on that's a bit more of a deeper topic is deprivation of affection, deprivation of emotional attention, which is really a deprivation of people recognizing your humanity. But that's ultimately what the appeal of genetically engineered catgirls for domestic ownership is. It's the cure to loneliness, and it's free cuddles for life. So that's what you're buying. That is what you're buying. And in a crass sort of indirect way, that's what people are buying with pets anyway. They're buying a sense of affection indirectly, and it's something that cannot fulfill that human connection. So that's also why a lot of normies get pissed off about even mentioning like catgirls or mentioning androids, mentioning anything like that. A lot of normies get pissed off about that because it conflicts with their own copes. It's like, here's something that would be a better solution. No, I have something that's completely inferior, but I'm going to defend it to the death because I already have a sunken cost fallacy. I do all this stuff bending over backwards for my bitch of a girlfriend who doesn't appreciate me, but you know what? That's what a real man does. And you're just not man enough to have a girlfriend and be a complete fucking cuck like I am. So you can glean from that what my opinion of interacting in a relationship in an undignified way is. Don't degrade yourself. And that's a hard thing to do because there are a lot of delusional people out there who will not appreciate you or who will try and manipulate you to get things from you and make you feel really bad about yourself. So you have to be honest with yourself and also question if other people are being honest with you. And that's another terribly anxiety-provoking situation where there's just not a lot of honest interactions in this day and age. That's not part of the culture. There's not an honor culture. There's a selfish culture in the modern West, and that could absolutely be another big thematic point to look at in general. Just because of how you would want the product to be with a genetically engineered catgirl, they would have to be honest by default. You don't get anything good out of someone who is manipulative, someone who is capricious, big mood swings, and someone who is dishonest. those are threats. If you can do anything about that with what their genetics are, so that you change their temperament, as well as with how you train them, with their upbringing and the values that they have, then you absolutely want honesty as opposed to selfishness. You would never be able to sell a selfish cat. Actually, I immediately think of a counterexample. If it's cute enough, people will buy it regardless of its behavior. But that's another heinous thing about biases and people not understanding integrity and people not having the willpower to stand up for their own dignity. Really pretty people get away with really heinous behavior just because they're pretty, and people aren't holding them to account for their behavior. That is evil. Getting away with selfish things, manipulating people and all this crap, and getting away with it, and like purposely trying to do these heinous things. This is evil behavior. This is bad behavior. Selflessness, getting along with someone being self-sacrificing, is a positive virtue. Oh my gosh, everything is subjective. You can't say that anything is a virtue whatsoever. This is why you need to have standards within like any culture. And it doesn't matter if you have a selfish culture and people know that you have a selfish culture. Go ahead, have that selfish culture. If you are the kid who plays the game in a very selfish way, then other people who know, that's that kid that plays very selfishly. I don't want to play with him. So I'm going to choose to not play with this guy because they're not very nice. If you know the rules and you can disengage with it, then that's ethical, because they can do their schemes or whatever with whoever the heck wants to put up with that bull crap. So if there's genetically engineered catgirl markets for a strain of very selfish, very mean, let's say like there's tsundere cats or something where they act very cold or whatever. I don't even know how that would work with being mean, because I'm not that kind of person. So it's really hard for me to get into that mindset. It'd be very hard to write a kind of person that is selfish and manipulative. So let's say that such a market did exist and some people would buy that kind of personality, then sure, that can exist. Just don't force me to be around that. Like, you can go be a selfish prick in your own little corner, and other people should be aware that you're selfish, that you're manipulative, and react appropriately. There should be transparency, absolutely. So that's another issue, because I'm biting my tongue really hard about making a larger comparison that gets in really down into the weeds of something that's very important. But again, I have to bite my tongue very hard about talking about selfishness. In modernity, in real life, we are forced to be around people who are very selfish and very mean and do not have our interests in mind, and we can't tell them, go be selfish somewhere else. You are forced to be around that. You are forced to be around people who hate you and who do not have any sense of goodwill or honesty. It's terrible that so many people grovel before that. Well, why don't people have integrity? Why is there no sense of values today? And why would catgirls have better values than humans, when humans are in this weird situation where so much of culture has just dissolved? God, that would be one hell of a comparison, where you have this military-like regularity of standards for the pedigree and the production of various catgirls, and they all have like a strong sense of purpose of, let's say that we're British shorthairs, and we're all known for our really excellent cooking. Glorious Britannia decided that their genetically engineered catgirl program for British shorthairs, they're going to change that reputation for being bad cooks. These are 5-star chefs. That's what their reputation is. They love cooking. They love being warm hosts to people, and that's a sense of culture. That's a sense of identity, and that's more of a sense of identity that can be said for a lot of modern people that are in England today. I know that Great Britain is more than England. I just wanted to say England. Okay, this is a very long article and everything, very long recording, but let's get through the last few things. Part 2.8, praise and compliment your cat. If you made fun of or laughed at your cat, you may have offended it. Aside, this is just such an absurd thing. Oh, I laughed at the cat. I made it feel really sad. It's not going to understand. Continuing. Offer your cat a cat treats. Sick. And tell your cat how wonderful and beautiful she is. Use a soft, gentle tone. Your cat may not necessarily understand your words, but it will understand that you are talking to it and saying nice things to it. Say nice things to your cat. Part 2.9. Give your cat what she wants, within reason. Aside, do they understand reason? Like, if they're not going to understand the verbal words that you're saying, then they're not going to understand abstract concepts like reason. You cannot negotiate with something that you cannot effectively communicate with. There are verbal humans that exist that can say words, but are not capable of reasonable negotiation. But that's more abstract stuff where it's, well, how do you control behavior? Well, now we have to get into an ethics discussion. What are the factors that influence someone's instinct for like how they behave? If I am in situation X, what makes me behave in reaction Y or other reaction Z? This is why it would be very important to have not only an understanding of the pedigree of cats, of how their temperament is based off of their genetics, so this type acts in this way, this other type acts in this other way, but to also have a very standardized way of training the genetically engineered catgirls for domestic ownership so that they are reliable in their behavioral outcomes. It would be extremely negligent of any corporation to have a product that does not perform to a set of standards. So like if I'm developing cars, I, the consumer, should have reasonable expectations that the car company makes a car that performs in certain ways and doesn't break down within reason, within a certain amount of reason. I should expect a certain amount of horsepower and towing capability out of, let's say, a truck. So in a similar way, if I am the wonderful mastermind of genetically engineered Catgirl Corp, then I would want to have standards so that the consumers would understand what to expect from the different breeds of catgirls, but a huge part of that is instilling a certain amount of values in them and training in them so that guides their behavior along an expected route. And here's the wonderful thing with talking about genetic engineering is that there's a lot of softness, there's a lot of malleability, where even if you have clones, life experiences are going to cause a certain amount of divergence from one individual to another, even if there are overall patterns. So if you're more vague than a clone, you have a breed of cat, so there is variation that goes on there, and there would be characteristic differences, but there would still be these soft trends of certain patterns where there would be like stereotypes for different cats, but it's okay because they're cats, so you don't have to be politically correct or whatever. And also people know what to expect with this one kind of cat doesn't like its ears being scratched, this other kind of cat really likes that, some other cat doesn't like being in water, and a different cat really likes swimming in water. So there would be like different characteristics is what makes character. It's so hard to piece together certain aspects of appreciating different things. My God, this is super vague to even convey, but so much of this is confused because of modern politically correct bullcrap that just scrambles the brain whenever you talk about, I like to appreciate diversity, but not in like a cringe way. And also, I appreciate that stereotypes exist for a bloody reason. Patterns exist. Oh my God, how dare I say? Obviously, we're not talking about humans. There are certain patterns of fur color that occur on certain breeds of cats. That is not a controversial thing to say. There's actually a handful of cats where they have very limited eye colors. What is it? Is it the Russian blue cats where they have gray fur and blue eyes, and that's it? There's like no variation, whereas opposed to like a whole bunch of American cats, like American long hair cats have a huge variation in color types that they could have. And there's different correlations with that as well. Like if there's certain eye color types, then there's a higher risk of having eyesight problems. And that changes from one breed to another because one certain breed might have, let's say, an 80% ratio of sight problems if they have blue eyes, where a different breed might have only a 5% ratio of eye problems with blue eyes. These are important things when talking about genetics, but people can't talk about them in general because of political incorrectness. But this is so important to understanding behavior and understanding patterns and understanding interactions, and also being able to appreciate characteristics. I feel like I am stomping on my own toes while trying to dance around this subject because it's just so hard to articulate anything. And because I have not been in a situation where I'm around people who can speak openly about this, so I don't know how to speak openly about this very important topic of appreciating different characteristics, but not being like, oh, politically incorrect about it. You can tell just in my voice and in my presentation how difficult it is to convey anything with such a stifling air around it. Thus, let us continue with the parody and moving to the next part with apologizing to your cat. Give your cat what they want. Here's long rant going from talking about a cat's ability to reason. But moving on with the article. Cats can get upset if she doesn't get what she wants. Sometimes what she wants is simple and harmless, such as sitting on that fluffy pillow over there. Sometimes what they want could be harmful, such as a portion of your dinner. Some human food can be very bad for your cat's health. Aside, very important to remember, not all human food is good for cats, and also not all cat food is good for humans, so I wouldn't go around sampling any cat food. Continuing. If what the cat wants was harmless, then you could relent and let your cat have it. You could give in. I don't think relent's the right word there. Continuing. If what your cat wanted was dangerous, then offer her something else instead. Next, if your cat wanted to sit on that fluffy pillow over there on the couch, let her do it. You could even pick up your cat and set her down on that spot. Imagine that you have a couch that you're sitting on where you always have this pillow and you like put it at the small of your back so you can sit up straight. Then like you're having dinner with your cat, and as you open your can of catgirl food and give it to the cat, and you're eating your own dinner with her, she looks over to that pillow and is like, probably not saying anything about it, but is looking really intently on that pillow. You kind of get the idea. Oh, she really wants that pillow. So you pick her up, bring her over to the couch, and sit her down on her favorite pillow. Wonderful. That'd actually be like really endearing of a cat girl noticing something that is like associated with her master. Like her master always sits on the couch. Let's say I'm playing video games, but before sitting down, I have a pillow to support my back, where she would take notice of that, and she might become affectionate towards that object because it is something that gives her a connection to me. So that's something that you could take in a heartfelt direction. That's my writer brain going through the loops there of how do I attach a sense of meaningfulness to these disparate objects that I have on the field here. Continuing with the article. Give her a reassuring stroke or two. Nice. At the end of the paragraph talking about picking her up and setting her down on her favorite pillow over there. Next. If your cat really wanted milk or tuna, you should give her something else instead. Milk or cream can upset a cat's stomach, and tuna could be dangerous in large amounts due to its high levels of mercury. Truth aside, that is absolutely true, especially like a lot of canned tuna and stuff, and there's mercury content, which is why I'm a big fan of sardines and herring. Actually, I have developed a taste for, well, it's more of I worked around different ways of cooking and preparing sardines and tuna to make it a lot more palatable, and actually taking influence from Japanese cuisine. For example, frying sardines in a frying pan a little bit so that they're a little bit crispy on the outside, so that they're flaky, and then mixing that in with rice, and it's kind of like some of the onigiri that I'd have back in Japan, and mixing that with, it's not healthy to mix it with mayonnaise, but I really like it. Yeah, tuna in large amounts could be dangerous. This is also something like in the prepper community. Like if we're preparing for a zombie apocalypse or, an economic collapse, which is soon to be impending. I'm sure that statement is going to age very well in a few years. If you are stockpiling up on, meats and stuff that are canned, not to overdo it on the tuna because of those, the mercury content levels. Tuna is kind of like a go-to of like, oh, what kind of fish would you get out of a can? Oh yeah, tuna is a thing. But yeah, too much of it is a problem for humans even, which is not great because I do know a recipe, and here's the cooking side of my brain going crazy. I know some recipes, just keep it short. I know some recipes that cook well with tuna, where tuna complements things very nicely. Now, there's an interesting thing. I'm certain that there would be foods that both humans and catgirls could both eat. If I were making British shorthairs that focus a lot on culinary aspects, and I'm the information coordinator for what lessons am I teaching these catgirls, what culinary things are they learning to do, I'd want to focus on affordability. Like out of the target market, if my target market is Britons, then what do they have access to in their stores? What is affordable so that I can be like economic about it, so it's available. They are likely to be able to find these ingredients. It's not going to be some like exotic stuff that they're never going to be able to cook, though that might be interesting, like on special occasions, to keep the interests of the classes or to just add variety to gain greater skill. It might be good to do a little bit, but a little bit of like weird variations for, I don't know, here's how you prepare escargot. But you'd want to focus on practical solutions. Practical problems require catgirl solutions.